Hi everybody, let's have some Halloween fun and make a skull spike knife. Before we get to that, a couple of things. Number one, I've got some t-shirts. I'm getting swag. I'm getting merch. They're available. They're not original designs per se, but it's my spin on them. And I'll put a link in the description below. Check them out. Order them. 20 bucks. $19.99. I think that includes shipping. It's through Sunfrog, which is a local Michigan company not far from where I live. And I actually know the guys that run the place. So check those out, and then I'll put links into my Etsy store if you see anything on there that you would like to purchase. Etsy's the best place to purchase. Amazon, I'm on there now too, but it's a little pricey through Amazon, so buy through Etsy. Alright, so for all the haters out there of the Railroad Spike Knife, this video is not for you. Quit watching. Bye. For everybody else, let's have a little fun. These things, I make spike knives not because I want to make a good knife. I make spike knives because I can throw them out on my table for 50 bucks and they always sell. Every show someone buys a spike knife, well, almost every show. So if I want an easy 50 bucks, make a dang spike knife. A couple of things first though, I encourage you to be honest and upfront with your customers about them. Explain that it is not quality steel. They're going to have to keep sharpening it. It's just going to be a fun, goofy knife you can pull out of the drawer and say, hey, look what I bought. But that's between you and your customer. The other thing is, as I say in every video where I use a railroad spike, obtain them legally. Do not walk the tracks and grab them. That is illegal. But that's my only warning, and however you grab them is up to you. But people have been prosecuted for picking up railroad property. I'll fire up the forge and we'll get going here. So 3 things you're gonna want. You're gonna want a small chisel to put the teeth in. You're gonna want a round fuller to put the eye sockets in. This is the same round fuller I use to put that little divot in when I'm doing a bottle opener. That last little thing that grabs the end of the bottle cap. I have seen people use the peen end of a ball peen hammer. If you do that, I caution you, do not hit this side of the hammer with another hardened hammer. Use some kind of soft metal, a brass mallet, a heavy wood hammer, a heavy leather hammer, something else, lead. You don't want to hit a hardened hammer with a hardened hammer. You're just asking for some trouble there. All right, the other thing you're going to want, you can just put, for the nose, I use a, where are we? I just use a, sorry, I thought there was a bat flying through my garage. It was a butterfly. All right, I just use a triangle punch that I made. You can just put a couple of slots in there, you know, to indicate a nose. But there we go. Those are the tools I'm going to use. And I think the fire's going now, so we can get at this thing. Well, and I forgot a tool here. You're going to want a spring fuller or a guillotine tool. Or I made this one out of a couple of pieces. This was an old axle to, I think it was a tractor axle or something. So, I mean, it's good. It's like 4140. And I've just got them welded there and drilled some holes. And that's what acts like my spring fuller. Spring fuller would work great. You just need something to shape the head a little bit. So we're going about 1/3 of the way between the top of the spike and the bottom of the spike. That's pretty good. So that looks very skull-like. Okay, first thing I do is put some teeth in, and they're actually quite a bit longer than what I'd do if I was going for like realistic skull teeth or anything, but put them in however you feel it. I mean, you could actually do a line across and do 2 rows and blah blah blah. I always sort of found that to be a little overkill. But however you want to do it. You know what? Maybe on this one we will, because I haven't done one like that before. And actually, I've got this little half round I made. I think I got one a little bit less half roundy. I'm going to give it kind of a smile. Okay, so now we need the nose. So this is my triangle punch. I do this right above the teeth. There isn't much room in between them. So, and these I'm doing about halfway between the top of the spike and the bottom of the spike, so that there's a nice big forehead. A lot of people put the eye sockets really too far up, and it sort of limits the size of the forehead. The human forehead, the human eye, is actually only just over halfway between your chin and the top of your head. Okay, the other thing I noticed is with that smile I put in, he looks too happy. So I'm going to take this, it's just a little fuller, and I'm going to put some little eyebrow looking grooves angling down. That should make him look like it's an evil smile. I'm hoping. When's the last time you saw a skeleton with eyebrows? Yeah, now he's looking more evil. Alright, so this part is up to you. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't, but right along the cheek lines, I'll sometimes take that same round fuller and just give it some wax right along the side there, just to give it some depth, some character along the sides where the cheekbones would normally be. But I think it looks fine without it too. So, but there we go. Skull's done. So for the handle, I do a cube twist. You can do just a normal twist. You can leave it plain. You can do whatever the heck you want. I do a cube twist. So what I'm going to do is cut some grooves down all four sides of the spike, down the middle of each of the four sides. And I just use this actually to measure it. So I'll cut them that wide, and then I'll take my other chisel, and then I'll put some depth to them. But let's go with that. Now we're going to put it in, we're going to heat it up, put it in the vise, and give it like, I think 3/4 of a twist or so. Okay, so to get length on this thing, I'm going to go right over the edge of the anvil. Half on, half off blows with the rounding side of the hammer. You can do this with a cross peen. Hell, you can do it with a regular mini sled. You don't need a rounding hammer to make it work. But there's some benefits to it. Basically what we want to do Let's just get as much length to this as we can real quick. The other thing I'm going to do now is try to put my mark on it. Right there. We're going to try it. Hopefully it works. HO and half a J. That'll work. Alright, going to do the first cleanup with a 36 grip belt and then probably move to a 120 before I quench it. And here we go. Respirator. Can't say it enough times. The other thing I'm going to do now is wire brush this and give the handle a nice hot oil finish, and then I'll heat treat the blade after that. This is just the oil I usually quench a knife in. It's like seasoning a cast iron pan. And the reason I'm doing it now is because the heat treat really won't hurt it too much, the finish, and if I get any oil down too far when I do the final cleanup on the grinder, it'll clean all that off, and I won't have to worry about screwing up the heat treat by baking it on or anything like that. So because what we're going to do is after we're done with this, we'll heat it up to critical, we'll normalize it a couple of times, and then quench it in water. And I'm not going to temper it because it's a railroad spike. It's barely going to harden at all, so there's no reason to temper it. Okay, so the handle is all done. Now I'm going in for the blade, and I'm going to normalize it 3 times. Get it up to critical where it's non-magnetic, and then let it cool. Do that 3 times probably. And then I'll go in for the water quench. Okay, so for everybody that says a railroad spike won't harden at all, there's a water quench. It's still wet. Here's my bastard file. That is just skating. So yes, it does harden. I don't know. They sell 50 bucks, easy money. Okay, final cleanup. Just going over it with the 120 again real quick, and then a 400, 600, and we'll probably call it done after that. Alright, so I'm just going to put a final edge on this one. I've done that on every knife video I've ever made, so I'm not going to do it again on this one. But I'll put the final edge on it, and then I'll get some close-ups for you, and we'll call it done. There we go. Let's get some close-ups. Looky there. So this one took me a little longer than normal, just because of the camera, you know, moving it around and stuff. It takes me quite a bit longer to do a video. But I can usually whip these out in about an hour. Sell them for $50. Now sometimes it is a bit of a hard sell. You know, if you're looking for quick money, maybe lower it down to 40. But I mean, if I can make one in an hour and sell it for $50, that's a $50 an hour shop rate. I'm pretty happy with that. So yes, I mean, be honest with your customers. Let them know what railroad spikes. Let them know the difference between a low carbon spike and a high carbon spike, and let them know that a high carbon spike is not high carbon steel. It's just higher carbon steel than a low carbon spike. So it's never going to be a great knife, but it'll be fun. It'll be a fun utility knife, and they can always pull it out of the drawer and say, "Hey, look what I bought!" So that's what people like, and for $50, I'll sell it to them. Not a problem. I will catch you guys next time. Go buy a t-shirt and check out the Etsy store. See ya.